Watch. We're going live on the video right now. Like I said, I've been clowning around with some of the audio feeds that magically were not working until I bitched. I'm still waiting. I don't know what the deal is with LinkedIn there, or not LinkedIn, but Instagram. Oh, it's painful. All right, now. Oh, how's everybody? There we go. There is the email. If whatever you want to do to reach out to us isn't working, like half of my things apparently weren't. Oh, wow. It's fatiguing, this head cold. It's really tiring. That is actually not what I wanted to be on. I'm on Restream on Chrome. That is not where I wanted to be. But that's where we're at today. That's what it's going to be. Oh, this is killing me. Well. Now let's go live there. Still waiting on Discord. All right, done. Time to go. So over the weekend, and this is what is incredibly dangerous. I don't think that a lot of the people that are supporting the Trump administration and even Elon Musk, I'm seeing all of these ridiculous Facebook posts that say Elon Musk must be protected at all costs. For what? I gotta fix one other thing. For what? What did he do that makes him so valuable? In fact, he's causing more problems. He thinks that the government is private sector. And I told you this was going to happen. I told you Trump was going to want to go for a third term, which he is. The goofball from Tennessee has put in a proposal for a constitutional amendment that they're not even close to what they need. Jason, if you can hear me, how is it now? Some audio was in and out on one of the but I think it was before I had the mic plugged in to the phone. Thanks for the check-in, Jason. Appreciate it. God, I feel like awful. So that one's on, that one's gone. All right, everything's happening. How was your weekend? I don't know if you can tell. Mine sucked. I've been sick. Sneezing and painful sneezes, like it really compounds my chest. And the top of my mouth, I keep going with my mouth because I'm using my tongue to scratch the roof of my mouth because it itches. I mean, yeah, it's that crazy. And I've taken my toothbrush and like brushed the top of my mouth to scratch it, to itch my mouth. It's that irritated. I got a zit on my lip, my lower lip, like where my goatee would be. I picked at that earlier, and it's bled all over the place. Yeah, really, really awesome weekend. I'm coming to a point where I don't even like weekends because I like talking to you folks as much as I may be droning on right now. And speaking of talking to somebody, Jane Stahl is going to be joining us in about 45 minutes for both sides now. We're going over, I'm presenting 10 because about 3 weeks ago, I already did my 5. But the 5 other most influential people to me, and my whole list had been broadcasting. I mean, there's kind of the obvious, my parents, certain teachers like Jane, of course. I like, well, I'll give you my 5 right now. And don't forget, you can always call us instead of the email too. You can do that at 1-888-88-YERGS or 844-GAY LGBT. We still use the T in our phone number and everywhere else. If we had more numbers available, we would use it. LGBTQIA. How many is that? LGBTQIA at 6. Maybe just end it with a 1. That would be 7. Well. So a hostile takeover is happening right now within the U.S. government. And it's not a legal one. There is a process that happens when you make changes in the government. And Trump and his boss, Elon Musk, are not honoring or respecting that process. So let's look that up too. Yeah, that Driscoll, that's the guy's name. So Friday, Brian Driscoll, the acting director of the FBI. I thought I was going to get a photo. The acting director of the FBI was given orders by the Department of Justice, who is essentially his boss, to turn over the names of the agents at headquarters and in the field and throughout the entire FBI who investigated Donald Trump. His response was literally, go F yourself. And he didn't do it. Then an email started circulating throughout the Bureau calling him a stud, which is essentially going to put in what we in law enforcement call the blue flu. Now, obviously, one word rhymes with the other, and that's by design, where law enforcement, because they don't agree with management, call in all at once and call in all at once and call in sick and force management to come out of the office and do things like patrols. I've seen it done at the White House where we've had captains and higher standing post on a fence line, and all because poor treatment. And there he is. Well, some of you are seeing that. For those that watch through screen sharing, but that's him there. Let me switch this around. God, I sound awful. It sounds so pathetic. But that's Brian Driscoll on the screen, the acting director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Hats off to you. And he is today's recipient of Pierre's pot. Now, the irony is this guy actually looks like he smokes pot, which I think is awesome too. But I need to put up a graphic here. Where is it? There we go. Oh, it covers him up. Well, let's see if I can move him back over the other way. There we go. Cover me up. You can't see me hacking. So Pierre Robert is on-air talent at 93.3 WMMR. He's one of my 10, by the way. In Philadelphia, he's a radio host. He's been there since 1981. I was 9 years old, and he's been there since 1981. He is now like 69 or 70, still there, still rocking, still there right about now, actually, like 10A to 3P, something like that. And he does a thing called the Toast of the Morning Sauce. Well, we're going to do that same thing. And this is in the direction of Brian Driscoll. Well done. Finally, management. Good to see upper management with a set of balls. Well done, pal. Stand up for those agents. I used to blindly take part in the FBI Secret Service pissing match. And then I actually worked with some of them, and I'm like, you know what? These aren't bad people. They're good agents, and they need to be taken care of, just like so many other agencies have out there. They're definitely worth it, and I think they're going to do fine protecting our country from asshats like Elon Musk. If you can put up with me being sick today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'm sorry I'm sounding so pathetic right now, but up the middle is politics for the rest of us on Yerg's Radio, Positive Talk in a Negative World, and the rest of our affiliates literally throughout the country. I talked with a German station last night, and they're interested. I'm going to go back to the London station that carries us live and try to get some more time on it, whether it's live or in replay, because the coverage that we're doing and some of the things that we're covering are without question priority. And some of the people that we'll be partnering with are also, some high profile folks, some other broadcasters that have a larger audience than we do. And just all of these different viewpoints, opinions, different access to different information, all being brought forward. We are now the First Amendment. Legacy media, CBS just bowed down to the FCC, all because they want a merger to go through later this year. Not because they have any journalistic integrity, but because they're thinking dollars and cents. And when nobody's watching them, what is that dollars and cents really going to mean? Way past time to take a break. Let me do that, and we'll be back with more of Brian Driscoll and how he's kicking ass. 99.1 WDJY, America One Radio, KSHP, Las Vegas, 107.1 and 1400. We'll be back to all of them and the rest of the Mastiff Media Network right after this.
What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum.
I got to do another one quick.
Hey, what's in your wallet? Well, if you want something that gives you zero fraud liability for unauthorized use, flexible due dates, just look in your wallet or look in mine. Go to CapitalOne.com. Actually, go to my Facebook page. Click on the affiliates link and find Capital One. Use my link to apply today. Capital One.
Yeah, on in Vegas. There it is. All right, so Brian Driscoll. And here's the thing. This is one of the things that just proves Kash Patel is not qualified. The FBI, like the rest of so many of these agencies that are illegally being cut. When I say illegal, it's not just because, these people are losing jobs and their former or their fellow federal coworkers of mine, and I pity them, and like they're just like you. They've got families too. And these agents and the attorneys that were fired at DOJ, they were just doing their job. Maybe if the Republican Party grows a set of balls and a spine and puts a candidate up that isn't a wannabe dictator, literally everybody possible gave you people the heads up that this was going to happen. And that's why I changed my Facebook profile picture to this circular. I'll try to put that up too if we can. To this circular meme of even the Germans ignored it too. There it is. Man, some definitely hot guys in Grand Axis. There we go. See profile picture. There it is. Now I got to put it on here too. No. Give me a second. Facebook, where you at? There we go. Now it's on all the video, I think. Yep. Sorry, folks, but ignoring it is what the Germans did. That's my profile pic right now on Facebook. And that's what's happening. I told you when he did it that Elon Musk's salute was the Nazi salute. And the right spends their time finding people from the left in stop motion photography, most of them, where a wave is a locked elbow and a hand straight out. And what these people don't get is that when that person is up on a stage, they're at a different angle and elevation from the people that they're waving to. So it's not just going to be just like, hand waving by the face. Hi. I don't know if you can see me with the other screen up, but it's not going to be like that. It's instead, it's going to look different. Now, there was one where they have a little bit of an argument. But I mean, the guy that they're picking on this is a pathetic choice to try to do this on him. And that was Governor Walz. I think it was a speech at the DNC, his acceptance speech for the vice presidential nomination. He did the whole "my heart goes out to you" thing. But first of all, he actually said it, that his heart goes out to you. And he did that over his heart, not, up over his shoulder and across his whole chest, the way the Roman salute is. And then when he put his arm out, he did more like a wave, as opposed to, you thought Musk was actually imitating Hitler. And what makes it more serious, what makes it scarier, I guess I could say. I'm still looking at the camera and I'm picking his zit. Is that I saw and I have somewhere on Facebook, a side-by-side of an actual white supremacist, a neo-Nazi, doing the same salute. And of course, it's matched up at the same time that Musk is doing it. And it's identical. There's no escaping. Musk did the Nazi salute. And you say, well, it just looks like it. Don't get so worked up. Let him work with the president and do their thing. Maybe this. Okay. So right after doing that, now that his puppet is in place in the United States, he ships off to Europe, goes to Germany, and actually sits with German neo-Nazis, a party that is the alt-right, far right. They can't call themselves Nazis. It's actually illegal. When the newspaper showed a picture of Elon Musk with the extended elbow, the locked elbow, and the extended arm, we talked about this last week. They had to black out his arm. They had to block that out because just showing the Nazi salute in Germany is against the law. Swastikas are against the law because of what that political party has done to not only that nation, but to Europe, to world history, to people in the world, etc. it's illegal to have an association with any of those three things: the party, the locked elbow, and the swastika. I'm going to sneeze. Hold on a second, everybody. I think I just shot snot on the floor. It's illegal to have any of those things in media, in public, in private, anything. There's two. We're going to be mopping that floor later. So it's illegal to have those things in Germany. He goes and sits with the German Nazi Party. I forget what the letters are. There's A something, ABF or something like that. It's like I said, the German Nazi Party, or its equivalent, and says that they need to get over that we, first of all, he used the word we. I don't know if, for those of you listening, English is your first language or not. Based on some of the English that I see used on Facebook, I would guess that for many of you it's not. But we is a subject of a sentence or thought. It is plural. It is for a group of people. And when you use the word we, it means that you, the user of the word, are included in that group. We need to stop punishing ourselves for the sins of our fathers and grandfathers. Sure, no one's punishing themselves. They're preventing a horrible mistake from happening again. But there he is donating money to that party with the intention of taking over that government too. And of course, because Germany has at least some freedom of assemblance and association like we do here, they couldn't stop him from joining that group. And I don't think it would have been a good look anyway. But they need to stop the group. Period. You don't want what we got right now. Oh, wow. It's just that this is so right behind the cheekbones and the sinuses. I'm feeling more blocked up today than I was over the weekend. I was just so tired over the weekend, and I had this hacking cough, which oddly enough, I don't have as much. I mean, I'm about to cough again. I can feel it coming on, but I don't have as much when I also get out of breath really quick. I don't have as much when I'm talking. Like I just noticed that I haven't coughed in a little bit. I've sneezed twice, like a bandit. But the hacking cough, if I keep talking, I don't seem to. I feel one coming on. I'm gonna have to cough, but I try to mute the mic so I don't like drown out your speakers or blow out your speakers because it's pretty intense. So, are we in a hostile takeover? Let's see if there's anybody in the comments yet. See if Travis or somebody's there. Let's say hi to. There he is. Travis, good morning, man. I haven't forgotten about you either, pal. I know we got to try to figure out your phone system. And we might even just hook you up to, I might give you an extension on our toll-free number. But I'm also really excited to bring you to Yerg's Radio if it's something that you're interested in doing. I think Tuesday nights, just adding Yerg's Radio to your list of destinations. I think it'll be great for both of us. Check out Travis Evans Tuesday nights at 8 Eastern. The Point with Travis Evans. Ow. The Point with Travis Evans. Like I said, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Good political and life, not just politics, but also lifestyle, societal stuff for the black. I can't even talk today. God, for the black community. Yeah, me too. Definitely. I've got a training session with Cirrus after this, but if not this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, depending I'm awake and sitting up. But I definitely want to get you set up for both and figure out your phone system and get that working properly. And then also get you on Mix or whatever platform. I think Mix is easy. It looks like there's a lot, but there's not. That's what we use to broadcast to the internet for internet radio. And I'll set up with, thank you. Appreciate that. I'll set you up with essentially the username and password and such. And I think you'd be a great addition to us, and hopefully we can help spread your message as well. I got to take another break quick. When we come back, more about the FBI, more about versus the Department of Justice, also the closing of USAID, and we'll review my first 5 that we talked about 3 weeks ago. And then by the time we get through all that, there should be time for Jane Stahl and Both Sides Now. And we'll talk about each of her 5 and my next 5. All right. 99.1 WDJY, WZQR, KSHP, and the rest of the Massive Media Network. We'll be back after this.
What's that smell? In my studio, it's Aroma by Peter. Scented wax candles with long-lasting wicks that make your place smell amazing. And don't worry, guys. Plenty of scents for you too. For us too. So go to aromabypeter.com.
I just heard I think when I expanded the screen while the commercial was already playing, it made the audio jump. And it said studio. Instead of studio, it made the word studio like skip. But so anyway, so last weekend, a bunch of it, and probably almost about 1 to 2 dozen, I forget what the actual number was, but a bunch of U.S. attorneys, prosecuting attorneys, assistant U.S. attorneys from mostly the Washington, D.C. district were fired. You already know about 17 inspectors general also fired illegally. None of these are legal, by the way. None of them. Even if they are appointees of the president, even if he does have the authority to terminate, with, like in the case of the inspectors general, he does. But the three qualifications that are necessary for that to happen were not met. First of all, they have to be fired with cause, meaning that they have to have done something wrong. They have not. Secondly, there's a 30-day grace period where where the firing is inspected by Congress, and they have to be given, the attorneys themselves, the inspectors themselves, have to be given that 30 days notice that they're going to be terminated. And lastly, they have to be fired personally by the president, not through his administration. None of that happened. So somebody's going to sue. It's going to turn into a class action, or even if not a class action, a combined list of affiants, of plaintiffs against the executive branch. And it's going to be a ground ball. This is not a hard decision. And if the right decision is not made, it'll be appealed up. And I just see, because stocks are down today, we got to look at that too. Oh, I didn't even think of that. I have on my phone an application called Coinbase. An application called Coinbase. And it's what I've used in the past to do some crypto trading. I've left some money in there. I think it's in Bitcoin. And it's just there to essentially, it was probably about $50 a while ago. It was recently over 100 because the value of Bitcoin went from the 50s, 50,000 and change and whatever, to over 100,000. So I'm using it as like as what's the word I'm looking for? As a base, as a yeah. How can they just? I'm really wondering. I was kind of expecting some news because a lot of this happened Friday afternoon, where a lot of the news cycle is expected to taper off for the weekend. Not that it necessarily does. The president has a small team of journalists following him everywhere, literally everywhere. He went down to Mar-a-Lago for the weekend. A bunch went with him. I have to assume that somebody in the Republican Party is going to step up and say this is not okay. Possibly some who have stood up to Matt Gaetz, some who voted against Pete Hegseth. The inspectors themselves are going to file suit if they haven't already. And I would presume that they're going to file suit. Hey, say, Rob, good to see you too. Robert Drake's one of the co-hosts, panelists of The Point with Travis Evans. So yeah, the inspectors get fired. They come after Driscoll's people. The inspectors get fired. Then the attorneys that worked the Trump cases got fired. They are a little bit more at the pleasure of the president. However, they still cannot be fired for purposes of retribution. They can't be revenge firings. They have to have done something wrong. Or there has to be other cause. It was blatant that this was vengeance. He said it. Trump said this is what he was going to do. And some of you asshats voted for him anyway. What were you listening to, presuming you heard the recording of him say, and I quote, "Just find me 11,000 votes"? What do you think he's suggesting? What do you think he's asking Doug Raffensperger and everybody in Georgia to do? They're not there. And what he did in Arizona was no different. Why do you think Rudy Giuliani's broke? Why do you think you haven't seen anything of Rudy Giuliani in the Trump administration? But there you are, believing his bullshit that he's going to make America great again. Let's have a look, shall we? Dow drops 600 points. Oh, I'm not sharing. Hold on a second. There we go. No, it looks like I'm looking at the thing. All right. Dow drops 600 points after U.S. hits key trade partners with tariffs. That's according to CNBC. Stock market news: tariffs spark steep declines in stock futures, according to the Wall Street Journal. The Street: stocks tumble as Trump tariffs spark trade war fears. It's here already. We're in a trade war. What do you think? Justin Trudeau's just waiting for our next move? According to Investors Business Daily, stock market today, Dow Jones dives as Trump tariffs raise these fears. And I don't know what the stock market today, Dow Jones, S&P 500, NASDAQ, pair losses after U.S. delays tariffs again. Oh, did they puss out? How funny would that be? Let me see this. Yeah, that's as of 17 minutes ago. Oh, let's look at that. That's on Yahoo Finance. Pause that a minute. U.S. stocks lost ground on Monday in reaction to President Donald Trump's announcement on tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada, but the major averages paired losses mid-morning after Trump said he would delay tariffs against Mexico by a month. So why Mexico and not, and why was he, Canada was like 50% or 25%, something huge. So was Mexico. These are allies. These are neighbors. These are people that give a lot of support that a lot of people don't know to the United States. China's tariff was 10%. 10%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ composite was down around 1%, recouping about half of its earlier losses. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 fell roughly 0.6%, and the Dow Jones industrial average, moved 0.2% lower. Consumer discretionary stocks, which include automakers, were the hardest hit earlier in the day. Tech also dragged on markets as shares of AI chip giant NVIDIA and iPhone maker Apple declined. Good job, Donald. How are those eggs doing, I wonder? Here they are. The tariffs, I told you, the tariffs initially set to take effect on Tuesday include 25% duties on Canada and Mexico and 10% on China. So someone that we're in another Cold War with, you only tax them 10%. And our two neighbors and allies, 25%. Energy imports from Canada will carry a lower 10% duty. Now, here's the thing about all of these. Neither Canada, Mexico, nor China pay those tariffs. We do. The world, literally the world, has been shouting this at him since he was running. But keep in mind, the whole reason why we're supporting this asshat is because, he's a good businessman. A good businessman. Been bankrupt 6 times. Is even out of some of the industries that he bankrupted. I don't know what's good about that. It's 11:58. I got to get ready to go here. We're going to be losing America One Radio. And maybe, I don't know if we lose ZQR or not. I got to listen to them too. We're going to lose K-Shop. Want to remind you that you can jump over to yergsradio.com, Yergs, YERGZ, radio.com, and continue with hour number 2. Jane Stahl is on the way soon. Jane Stahl's on the way soon. You can get me and everybody here at Up the Middle. Get me and everybody here at Up the Middle by writing us news, NEWZ, at YERGZ.com. Remember that Rainbow Radio is not working for some reason, and we're trying to figure that out. I tested it last week after it went down then, and it worked. But then I'm figuring that because of this new system that we're also broadcasting to, which we're actually not broadcasting to right now. I forgot to turn that on. And we're just testing it, so it's not like anybody's actually missing out on that. But for some reason, Rainbow Radio is not working at all now. Yep, failed. Okay. All right. So for some reason, Rainbow Radio is not working at all. And I forgot to load the configuration into the new system for our test station that I'm training on later this afternoon. But so we're going to lose America One Radio and K-Shop. We'll see you guys tomorrow. See K-Shop on Wednesday, actually. And I don't know about ZQR. I don't know if they're on with us for 2 hours or what, but you can find out all of the different stations and social media and everything by going to yergs.com or mastiff.media and checking them out there. Got to take another quick break before Jane comes on, and we'll go over my list and her list and everything else right after this. We'll see you in a minute. You're listening to Up the Middle. We're about to start hour number 2.
Hey, what's in your wallet? Well, I'll tell you what's in mine, and it should be in yours. Capital One. My credit card with Capital One has $0 fraud liability for any unauthorized use. 0. Flexible due dates. Look in your wallet. See if it's there. Or go to my Facebook page and click on the affiliate link. You get checked for pre-approval. You can apply for the card and enjoy.
Yeah, there's no way to pan that one down. Sorry about that. But that's the longer one. I don't have, because of the new format that we're doing, like one, maybe two commercials. That's it. And then we come back. And by the time you go away to go get some, we're back from the commercial break and you hustle back. And that way, our sponsors and affiliates actually get heard. And as such, it we just do them more frequently for throughout each hour if I remember to do them. We don't have as many right now, so I get away with it. But that's going to change, fortunately, thank God. It's 12:04, about to be 12:05. We're waiting on me to bring somebody out here. I think I can get rid of. We'll be back shortly. And there she is.
Hey.
Hey there. How are you feeling?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was down and under last Monday.
Yeah.
Just did not have the energy to get out of bed. So anyway.
I've been napping quite a bit over the weekend. Did you have it in like your sinuses and your throat and all that?
No, mine was the norovirus, the gut thing. So
oh,
the good thing about that virus, though, is that it doesn't last very long. So that's the good thing.
I've had this cough all last week. It's getting worse.
Yeah, I've had those year after year, particularly when I was teaching. So
you know what?
Anyway,
having moved down here,
mm-hmm.
I don't seem to get sick as much.
Nice.
I don't know what does it. I mean, I clean the house constantly, so it's not like anything inside is. I don't know, but I'm definitely feeling it today. And of course, I got an afternoon filled with. I've got an afternoon filled with calls. So there's that. So did you watch the Grammys last night?
I did not. I don't know what I was doing, but I missed the Grammys totally. The only thing I saw this morning was Beyonce, or however you pronounce her name,
Beyonce. Yeah.
Finally won. And I was really happy to see that. And then I saw somebody on the red carpet with no clothes on. So some transparent dress supposedly. But
awesome.
I haven't had a chance to really, and I watch those things for the outfits,
Lady Gaga usually pulls some stunt like that.
Yeah, she does. She does. Well, she did that in her early career, the way I saw it, in order to attract some attention. I mean, she wore meat and all that kind of stuff.
Right. I was just thinking about the meat dress. Yeah.
Yeah. That's And she was absolutely gorgeous at Biden's inaugural. I mean, I loved the outfit. That was difficult to walk in and all, but it was absolutely gorgeous. But she got some attention early on in her career. And then when folks realized she could really sing and really act, I don't know that she needs to do that anymore. I don't know that she does. I don't follow them very closely at all.
Yeah,
but
me neither.
I do like to watch those award programs because I really do like to see the outfits. So I really missed it. I don't know if I can go back and grab it anywhere, but I might try.
What TV services do you have?
Who knows? Paul's in charge. He says we have everything, and he pays a bunch of money he pays a bunch of money every month to get all kinds of channels and whatnot. But don't ask me. And I tell you what, if he's no longer in my life, the only channels I'm going to get are 3, 6, and 10. CBS, ABC, and NBC. That's it. I mean, I don't know how to work all that stuff. Anyway.
You'll get it with the bunny rabbit antennas?
Yeah, something like that. Well, I have Jeff. He'll take care of me. Yeah. He'll see that yeah. Jeff and cousin Andy. So between the two of them, I might be able to watch TV. So, yeah.
Last time we talked about 5 people that influenced me and they were all from radio.
Okay.
And you said that you had your 5 that had influenced you, because we didn't get to it. And then
No.
after that was the inauguration, where
Yeah.
you stayed at arm's length from anything in the world that day. I don't
Oh
blame you.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
last week you were down. So do you have 5 influences on you?
Oh my God. I could talk for days, as I told you. I mean,
Yeah.
so many people have influenced me over my life, and I
Yeah.
could talk for days. So yeah, I
Go ahead.
have lots of people.
Your turn.
And I had sent around to some friends of mine. I can't remember the motivation anymore, but an essay I had written a number of years ago that included a lot of my author inspirations.
Mhm.
Shakespeare and Wordsworth and Salinger and
Okay.
Samuel Beckett and all those literary people. And you had said to me, so you can pick real people, you don't have to do the authors. And so last
Oh, no.
Monday, while I was sick as a dog, in bed, writing down, thinking about the people, actual real people in my life, in addition to the authors. But I can talk about anything. What would you be most inspired to hear about?
Well, it was totally your choice. I had said that you can do all authors
Yeah.
or others or mix. I just, because of this being in broadcast, like I was about to go over my first 5 that I gave 3 weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
to refresh for everybody, and I just
I was
got
going to
rambling
say,
on.
review those. Name them.
Okay.
Can you, off the top of your head? Paul Harvey, I
So
know.
yeah, I was actually just going to start writing them down, and I think some of these might be in the latter 5 now that I've got some others. But my 5 from I am going to write them down so I can keep track of them.
Good. Howard Stern has to be in there.
Yep.
Paul Harvey has to be in there.
And yep. Okay. So
Got
number
it?
5
Okay.
was Wolfman Jack. Remember him?
No.
He was a music DJ who helped fight the anti-rock movement. He helped bring rock and roll into popular music, and even did so through pirate stations. He would broadcast from Mexico with powerful stations outside of the reach of the FCC, and then therefore reached well into beyond Texas and well into the United States on frequencies that he wasn't authorized by the U.S. to be on. All but one of these 5 are dead. I just realized that too.
Oh.
Number 4 was Dick Clark.
Of course.
Who also, brought various types of rock, not just like the classic rock, but also like the doo-wop oldies type stuff to mainstream. And also, I think he was progressive enough to also realize television was going to be a huge asset to that whole movement. Number 3, until I explained it, was a bit of a head scratcher for you, I think. But then when I said why, it made sense. And that was Rush Limbaugh.
Well, head scratcher only in that I was never happy with the type of influence. But there's no question. There's no
but
question
what he did, especially for conservative.
Oh God.
Yeah.
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 And then
I mean, he's responsible, in my opinion. He and what's his name? You lose your nouns when you get old.
We had this conversation with Dave Beckmeyer, I think. Yeah. I think you had mentioned
the Tea Party guy.
Was it not Dennis Hassert, but Newt Gingrich?
who got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Roger
he said,
Ailes and Roger Ailes. Oh, the three of them. Villains.
yeah,
But powerful. Absolutely powerful. May change the world. Change the
yeah,
world. And we're living in it today. Yep. We're living in
yeah.
their world today. I hope they're happy. Anyway,
I
number
don't,
2.
you can't be, you can't say you're an American and be for the method of cuts that are happening in the federal government right now. That's not due process. And these people have families too. And these people were just doing their jobs by actually prosecuting a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
This was not politicized.
Mm-hmm.
Knowingly sitting on a recorded phone call and saying, just find me 11,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing legal about that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And there's nothing American about it either.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, number 2 is Howard Stern.
Mm-hmm.
Also, whether he's vulgar or he's just funny or whatever, he also changed broadcasting. I think to a degree for the better. He pushed that independent voices, because that's, even though he was at networks, it's almost like he was an independent contractor of sorts, and that he has to negotiate his contract with that network.
Absolutely. Yep.
And at the end of that contract, he might not have a job anymore.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And he, gave broadcasters, I think, an independent voice. And then just for everything that he's done with broadcasting from the very beginning, number 1 would be Paul Harvey. And when I'm feeling like I'm feeling right now, I kind of drone on in a way like he does. Not very exciting or whatever.
It's really nice to see your face. I missed you.
Yeah.
Now,
Same.
last week I wasn't on because I wasn't feeling well, but it would have been, last week was the last Monday of the month, and I would have been on the first hour anyway.
Gotcha.
Because of my meeting. But I didn't go to my meeting either because I didn't want to infect anybody else, and I was too tired.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Really move out of anywhere.
Yep.
But since you mentioned all the media people, and I didn't really make a list of them, although I can riff on that just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to stick to media people for the first 5, I can do that too. So and I don't have them in order.
That's all right.
Okay, I'd have to think through that. A little bit. But I can think of 5 media people who have been amazing influences a long time ago and in the present. In the present, my number 1 is Stephen Colbert. I love him. And what I love about him, not only is he a marvelous talent and a marvelous comedian, I just absolutely love him, but I love his integrity.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
not everybody does. My husband gets annoyed with him sometimes because he inserts his opinion sometimes where Paul thinks he should just be quiet and let the guests talk. But I like the fact that he brings his faith, and I'm not a fan of Catholicism necessarily, or even Christianity as a whole. I mean, to me, religion is bigger than one sect,
right.
than one. It's big. There are lots of ways to God,
right.
Okay? Or lots of ways to the creator, or lots of ways to energy, or whatever you want to call it. But I love that he does, that he is true to his faith, and that he talks about it. He talks about the importance of morals and ethics and all those kinds of things. I really respect that because that's not necessarily a popular thing.
Right.
So I respect him for that quite a bit. Of course, David Letterman.
Yeah.
Of course, Johnny Carson. I love those people. David Letterman, I love kind of for the same reason, because toward his later years, at least, I mean, in the very beginning, he was just a dumb guy. He was a funny guy. He was doing stupid stuff like throwing watermelons off the top of buildings. That doesn't do a thing for me. I'm sorry. But in his later years, he too, took on more more substantive issues and let his opinions and his beliefs and his morality and ethics show. And I really like that a lot. I love Oprah. Not everybody does, but I mean, queen of all media.
Yeah.
I mean, if Howard was the king of all media, Oprah was the queen of all media. And Oprah, she was very successful, of course, monetarily and in the entertainment world and so forth. But I also, her whole backstory resonated with me. I first met her, and I don't pretend to know a lot. I mean, I was deeply in the trenches of teaching and missed much of life, for those 35 years. But she surfaced for me kind of later in my career to do two things for me. One was I watched a movie that she was in called The Color Purple.
Oh, yeah.
And learned about her backstory and what motivated her and inspired her, and and saw her rise from nothing to everything, which was, of course, impressive. But what I loved in The Color Purple was a theme that has stuck with me forever. And it's funny that I happen to be wearing purple, and I didn't do that on purpose because I didn't expect to be talking about this today. But somewhere in The Color Purple, there's a line, and I don't even remember the plot of it anymore. I don't remember anything at all about it. The only thing I remember is being inspired by this one line. Apparently, one of the characters is miserable or not happy or looking at things negatively or pessimistically. And again, I may be making this up, but the line in the film was that if you walk by a field of purple flowers and can't appreciate them, can't stop for a minute and celebrate their beauty, you're really insulting God. You're really insulting the Creator. And there are people in my life, have been always, and I know people in yours, who are constantly miserable, who will find the most negative thing and ignore all the beauty and all the positiveness and all the good stuff, just so they can say, well, what about this? And it's so offensive. It's always been. My whole life as a little girl, my whole life teaching, my whole life, I'm just turned off by people who can't see stuff to be happy about, stuff to be joyful about, stuff to be inspired by. So that's how I first met Oprah. Did you want to comment? Well, I can see you want to comment.
It's funny you say that, because I remember having you in class and even just seeing you in the hallway. You were always upbeat and cheerful. Like, even I suspect there had to be some days where something was either bugging you or something where perhaps that cheer was a mask. But if that's the case, you certainly wore it well, because I couldn't tell the difference between those days and the genuine ones.
Yeah. Honestly, it takes effort for me to get. It takes effort for me not to be. It takes effort for me not to be happy.
Good.
It just does. I have to think about it. What am I miserable about today? And then I can be miserable for a while. It's like one of those.
So many people reach
those dolls that that have sand in the bottom, and you tip them over and they fly back up. Yeah. And people have discounted. This sounds terribly unhumble, but people have discounted me, my intelligence, I think, because they just see me as this fluff ball.
You actually that was one of the things that I think kept you cheery, was you called yourself a ditz in class all the time. No, not just
All the
no.
time.
Airy, an airhead.
What?
It was an airy.
An airhead.
It was something.
Airhead.
Flaky,
I used to have kids.
flaky.
Flaky. Oh yes, okay, flaky. Yes, flaky works. Flaky works.
And
yeah.
I just always had to giggle at that. That in front of a bunch of know-it-all junior high kids, you had the courage to goof on yourself.
Yeah, I used to have the kids write. This came across Facebook. Something about if you remember this, you're old, and it was like a piece of notebook paper. I will not talk in class 50 times.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. And I used to when my students would forget their homework, I mean, not on a regular, but some major thing. Okay. I would have them write 50 airheads. I will promise not to be an airhead. I wonder how many of them remember that. I almost responded to the Facebook post with that memory, but I thought, never mind. Nobody needs to hear from me today.
I'm trying to think of what I had to.
Anyway,
I know I had to do stuff like that in elementary school. If nothing else, for remember, spelling was actually a class in addition to English.
Oh yeah.
And handwriting. Yeah. They don't even teach handwriting anymore.
No, I couldn't teach handwriting. My students, when they'd be new to my classroom, this was in senior high. And by the way, the airhead sentences were for junior high kids. I wouldn't be able to pull that off in senior high. But anyway, they indulged me. My students are often they'd pat me on the head and say, "It's okay, Mrs. Starr. Go sit down." In senior high, rather than call myself flaky, I just told the kids I was ADD, ADHD, all those kinds of things. And they looked at me like, "Really, you too?" It's like, yeah, Joe. I had a ball. Anyway, I forget what I was going to say.
We were talking about your 5.
Yes, but I was talking about Oprah, and that sentence in Oprah really resonated with me. And so, in addition to all her, her fame as a media, as the queen of all media, I really appreciated that and where she came from, and was able still to, be who she is. But the other thing thing about Oprah was late in my career, she began a magazine. And late in my career, I started a talk show with my students. And every month she would have, the theme of the month. And I would take the theme of our talk show often from an article that appeared in Oprah's magazine, not on purpose, but it was just, she hit it for me every month, kind of, for 3 years. She hit it for me, what was going on, what was important, what perhaps, people were talking about. She was an early influencer. I guess that's what you call it. Anyway, I used her theme to develop the themes for the talk show that the kids and I did. So she was big. So those guys from late night, Oprah, Fred Rogers, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because he was such a love. Okay. And this is a negative one. But he was important to me at one point, again, in helping my students in public speaking and in lessons relative to propaganda and persuasion, is Roger Ailes.
Yeah.
He was for George Bush, H.W. Bush, Herbert
Walker, yeah.
Whatever.
Bush
the first
Sr.,
one,
yeah.
the old guy. I think he was instrumental in helping him develop his speaking style. Okay. This is what you have to do in order to be effective. And at the time, what he taught George Herbert, whatever, Walker Bush, was really important, was really effective. is the word I want to say. So he was, while he became a huge negative thing, he was really influential, I think, in public discourse, and it ended up being where we are today, which is unfortunate, but hey,
Yeah.
that's the way it is. Okay, so, and obviously Jim Henson
Oh, wow.
with the Muppets, you know, that's huge. So those are some, I think that's 5,
That's
at least.
6. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, those, just off the top of my head, media people were influential. But the list I developed that we don't have to go into today, but the list I developed were personal ones. They were from my real life and how those folks impacted me. And then, of course, there are dozens of literary people that I could talk about. So, like I said, I can talk for days.
Well, I'll
I
go
love to
through
talk.
my next
Go.
5, and then
Oh, good.
we'll,
I can listen
yeah,
now.
we'll go
Good.
through. Let you pick either your personal or the literary, either one. I know you're going to be.
Yeah.
So my second 5, and these are in less because I think like I don't know, probably Wolfman Jack. If I did them, 10 down to 1, might fall in this 5 instead, and there's some that might 2 that would be closer, like maybe number 6, if not, replacing Wolfman Jack in the first 5. One of which is Ryan Seacrest.
Oh, I was going to mention him. Yes.
Because he's kind of obviously like a next generation Dick Clark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
yep.
He's really gone back to, in addition to things he's done on TV, he's gone back to being on radio, where Dick Clark got his start.
Is he really?
Yeah, he was doing like the American Top 40, and just like a weekly show on one of the big, like iHeart or what's the other one? Westwood One of the big radio network companies. I think he was based in LA, and they were putting it out, to their different affiliates and whatever. But he's really getting that exposure, I think, for musicians, and just using both as communications, kind of old school of sorts. He's not trying to be extravagant or shock or anything like that. He's just being professional broadcaster. You may remember this guy, at least have heard of him or have an idea who he is. Do you remember David Stein from Y102 in Reading? No. He was one of the morning guys for a while. Towards my high school and into college, he's a graduate of the Hill School, and a connection there while my brothers were going there. Gave me his contact info and said to reach out to him, and he helped me as I was getting into the radio club at Penn State. Cut some like demo tapes and things like that, and he said something to me the one day we were in a studio. I was being all shy and not really, but not being fake, but not really showing any enthusiasm. And he said, "Dude, they can't see you. It's just your voice. You either got to want to be here, or you might as well go." And that just, put his foot in my ass and really brought it out of me. We cut some really good tapes from that, and I'll never forget that. And then, of course, I also have Paul Harvey, or excuse me, Mr. Rogers. And as I've said before, it's one of my kind of 2 personas, on this show. Is I'm either a Howard Stern or a Paul Harvey or a Mr. Rogers. I do want to help educate people. I do want this to be a show that's welcoming to both the left and the right, or the right and the left, depending on which side you're on and which one you expect to be welcomed first. And that's really the only way we're going to get through this. This time around, we've got more guys, and next time around, they've got more guys, and we just have to. That's not working. They've got to go back to reaching across the aisle and talking things out. And hopefully by educating people, we can at least start that movement. Another one would actually, like we had said, one would be you. When we had said that this was fun, first and foremost. And I really, even still, this has been very therapeutic, our weekly live sessions. Yeah. Yeah. And I told you that before, but I mean, still so.
That really makes me happy still.
And yeah, I hope, it's still something that you're looking forward to every week, as opposed to feeling,
every week.
Shit, I got to do this again.
No, no, not at all. I am just so sad that we didn't get together over Christmas.
Oh,
that would have been. I'm still grieving over it.
You and Paul got to come down here.
I know. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No. You get too much at the studio, or you're not going to get him out of the.
There's too many things going on here. It's going to be a long time till I feel liberated.
Oh.
maybe in a year. I shouldn't say never.
Yeah.
We'll see. Because I'm really hating the cold.
Oh,
so I may have to get on the plane and visit you.
It's going to be pushing 80 degrees here today.
Oh, I want to come.
Or what are we in February?
Yeah.
And then
there's so much going on.
I do
personally, professionally.
I do a thing every show, most every show, called Pierre's Pot. It's actually referring to a pot of coffee, because he's a big coffee drinker, but he's also a hippie. And what I think is amazing is that he's been at 93.3 WMMR in Philadelphia since 1981.
Wow.
And that's Pierre Robert. I don't know if you've ever heard that name before, but he's on that rock station since 1981. He's from San Francisco.
Wow.
And in fact, when I left Philadelphia field office for San Francisco, I wrote him and said, "Hey, I'm going to your hometown. Anything you suggest?" He wrote me this long email back. Don't go here, don't go there. Cool. That's a tourist trap. Hang out in these sections and go to this part of town and that kind of thing. And he went section like Haight-Ashbury, where the original Woodstock, well, not Woodstock, but the sit-ins, the Love-ins, and the Grateful Dead and those guys. And all the different neighborhoods of San Francisco. He's from there. Was at a rock station there very early in his career, in like the late 70s, right around 80. And one day they turned to urban country. I have no idea what the hell that is. Like, do cowboys ride motorcycles, or what is urban country? But he tried it. He said, "No, this is not for me," and he left the station. A friend of his comes to him and says, "Hey, I'm going to college in Philadelphia. Would you mind driving me out there?" And so they packed up Minerva, his Volkswagen van, and drove across the country. While he was there, he sent a tape to MMR. And the manager there was a guy who's been there when I was a kid too. Joe Bonadonna told him, "No, not interested." So he's hanging out with his friend in Philly. He's on South Street at the tourist trap section of Philadelphia on South Street. And he goes to see a psychic who tells him he needs to rush home. There's a letter waiting for him. So he goes to his friend's place and he starts packing up to drive back across the country. When his friend comes to him and says, "Hey, you got some mail." And it's a letter from Joe Bonadonna at MMR saying, "We'd like to reconsider. Could you come in for a tryout?" And the rest is literally rock history. He's been there ever since.
Wow.
Yep.
MMR.
93. It's even the other big rock station used to be 94.1 WYSP.
Mm-hmm.
That went to talk. And in fact, I think it's sports.
What about 104 Magic?
104.5
Yes, that's the one I remember.
was more. That's where, what was his name? Don. He died not too long ago. Don Cannon used to be at 104. And then he was at some other stations too. But he was a Philly legend.
I mean, I know it's changed formats and all that, but that I can remember as a young girl listening to 104.5.
104.5 and 102.9.
Mm-hmm.
I think they called it Magic 103. But it was actually 102.9. Were like the adult contemporary. They were a little less sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and usually a little softer.
Yeah, that was yeah, that's what I listened
to. And I don't. 94 earlier on was like the heavy metal station before it went classic rock. It was a hard rock station back when I was in high school.
Yeah, I never got never got into that. Never got into grunge. Never got into.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah. Anyway.
But yeah, Pierre Robert, Jane Stahl, Mr. Rogers, David Stein, and Ryan Seacrest.
Wow.
Would be my next 5.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love being a part of your list. Thanks.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. So what's next? Your literary or personal?
I have my list of personal here, so
okay.
And I may have talked about these things before, but so you'll have to stop me.
That's all right.
But probably, yeah. So
actually, before you get started, I'm going to open the back door and let the puppy out. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm going to put music on.
All right. Are you gonna do some music or some ads or something like that?
Wait, say that again.
Are you gonna put on some ads?
No, because I don't have any that are long enough. So I'm just going to
okay.
put that music on that we had before.
All right, we'll listen to some.
We'll be right back, everybody.
All right, sounds good.
And we'll be back.
I'll review my list.
Yep. Okay. And we'll be back with Jane's list right after I let the puppy out.
Okay.
All right, we're back. We got to get caught up in some chat too. Let's see who we. No, just spam. Whatever. All right. So, personal influences.
Okay. Well, I added a couple while you were taking a bit of a break with the puppy, but I also recognized, and I thought this was kind of interesting. I also recognized the the theme, a core theme among these people who have inspired me, and I want to kind of start there so it doesn't get
Yeah. What is
lost.
that?
I think the core theme growing up, yeah, I mean, even as a little girl, through my professional career, growing up, what was inspiring to me were people who believed in me, okay? Who believed in
Nice.
me. My dad and who believed in me, who acted as my champion, who challenged me, told me things I didn't want to hear.
Tough love.
Okay. Oh, well, something like that. And yeah, but those are the themes, and those are the themes that I recognize just in thinking about it today. Not that I thought much about it prior to this moment, but those are the themes that showed up in my early life and that I took with me into teaching, and I think that's what made me effective, successful. I think that's what kids responded to. My father, for example, and I know I've told this story to you because Amy, because Amy reminded me that I tell the story, the one time that I got drunk.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you remember that story? And my mother was so mad at me, and your father will speak to you after dinner, and I was like, I'm afraid he's going to throw something at me. He's going to, he's going to punish me forever. And, I was all ready to be traumatized. Right. So he took me in the back room and he sat down and he said, now I have one question for you, and one question only. Do you plan to do that again? And it was like, well, no, it was horrible. Yeah. I was sick all night long. I'm not doing that again. And so, but I just said, no, no, I don't remember giving anything else, but no. And he said, well, then I guess we're done here. And he gets up and walks out the room. I mean, I'm sure my mother was really annoyed that I wasn't punished further. But what he did there was, there's a biblical phrase that says a wise father knows his own son, in this case, daughter. Right. But he knew me. He knew that was not the kind of person I was or wanted to be. And so there's no point in beating me over the head. Right. Just, do you plan to do that again? No. And so that was the end of that. And that really, I've taken that to the classroom. There's no need to humiliate. There's no need to berate. There's no need for that. That's disappointing. I hope you don't do that again. Oh, okay. Yeah. I won't. Fine. Then let's move on. I love that. Okay. So that's my dad. And of course, the story, probably the most important one about my dad, was the time that my kids trashed my jacket in the cloakroom, and I came home and decided I was never going to be smart ever again because they hated me for being successful as a student and so forth. And so, he didn't argue with me. He just said, well, what are you going to be instead?
Your students trashed your jacket?
No, this was when I was in first grade or sixth grade. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
My sixth grade.
Your classmates.
Okay. Trashed my jacket. And I came home and I was devastated. And, my dad said, well, what are you going to be instead if you're not going to be a good student?
Instead,
What are you going to be instead if you're not going to be a good person? You want to be popular? Really? You know. So, and my first, my mother woke my father up because he worked nights and because she knew I was really, really upset. So he got up and again, he said, well, if you're not going to be if you're not going to be a good student, if you're not going to be a good person, what are you going to be instead? And I had initially said, well, I want you to go to school and yell at these kids. He said, what's that going to do? You think that's going to help? I'll do that if that's what you want, but are you sure that's what you want me to do? But what I loved about it was there was no lecture, there was no humiliate. He was a wise father who knew his own kid, and he knew I'd figure it out, and he just knew. So my dad was big. My principal, when you were in junior high with me, was Alan Fig.
Oh yeah. I remember
he was a huge influence on
Yep.
me.
Well, I was going to say, I remember he came in when I came in as a 7th grader to junior high West, then junior high West, now middle school West. He, at that first day of school, speech where everybody is in the auditorium, he had addressed the 9th graders because he came into junior high West with the 9th graders. His first class there was the current 9th grade class when they were 7th graders. But I also, we talked about this too, where he had encouraged all of us to be not just students, but active students, whether it's student athletes or some sort of extracurricular, that when you have that in your life, it kind of forces you to also be a better student. And, I noticed when I started doing other things outside of school, and I started sliding, even though I was still active, I was in hockey. We didn't have hockey. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing was when I first got there, he was Mr. Fager. And he got his PhD during my time at junior high West. I think after the first year. I think by my 8th grade year, he was Dr. Fager. Was when he got his PhD, I guess, in education.
Wow, I don't even remember that. That's interesting. Yep. Yeah, very good. Well, he taught me so many things, but he too was my champion. If I had an idea, he said, go do it.
Nice.
Even though it wasn't something that was ever done before. But 2 other things were important. 2 other incidences were important. One of the things was he taught me to appreciate my nemesis. One of the fellow teachers, John Schaefer, he taught math at junior high West. And he was one of these people. I'd known him since my own junior high days.
Birdie Schaefer.
Okay. And Bird Schaefer. And when he and I taught together, it was like, oh no. He and I sat together side by side during our, growing up in junior high and high school, just alphabetically or something. And he was just always such a pain.
What was your maiden name? Remember?
Petrowiz.
P.
Petrowiz. Yeah.
So P-S, that could, if there's not enough in between, that could be put you pretty close to each other.
Yeah. For some reason, we were always in the same class. Maybe we didn't sit side by side, but we were always in the same class. And he was always so annoying because he was one of those people who was always negative, always looking for the problem. He drove me absolutely crazy, and I complained about him all the time to Dr. Fager. And finally, Dr. Fager said, you got to quit that because he helps you be effective. You are going to come through with an idea, and he's going to pick it all apart. He's going to tell you why it's not going to work. He's going to tell you where the problems are. I said, yes, he drives me crazy. He said, but you have to appreciate that because you know then ahead of time what to do in order not for those things not to be a problem.
Yeah.
It was like, shit, he's right. Now, and then later, many years later, I was doing workshops for teachers, and he was in one of my workshops. And I thought, oh no. But by that time, I appreciated him. And I was able in workshops like that to share Dr. Fager's wisdom, that particular piece. And I believe I probably used his name in the workshop as the person who was a really important person to me in my development, was John here. And why? Because John let me figure out where the problems were going to be before I started something. Anyway, I remember he came to my house one day to say thank you. To say thank you for whatever it was I was doing in my workshops that resonated with him. But he took the time to come to my house to say thank you. And that was really an important
Alan
moment.
Fager did? Alan Fager
Dr.
did,
Fager.
or Bertie Schaefer did?
No, John
Okay.
Schaefer.
Because he lived in Boyertown too.
John Schaefer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the second thing with Dr. Fager was this. We worked as a team of teachers at junior high,
Yep.
right? And as a team, they were team leaders. And for a couple of years, I worked under the team leadership of Jim Bedolis.
Okay.
And then Jim Bedolis took a sabbatical to finish up his probably
Yep.
doctorate or
Yep.
something like that. And Dr. Fager asked me if I would be the team leader, which was kind of unheard of because women weren't usually selected or appointed to be team leaders. It was pretty sexist still
Wow.
then. Okay. And I thought, oh, cool. I mean, he's my champion, right? And he believes in me and he wants me to be the team leader. But my team wasn't very happy with his choice for whatever reason. It reminded me of my 6th grade year,
Yeah.
right? I was suggesting they do things that they didn't want to do, but I thought they were really effective and important. And I, as the leader, said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to add this to our things that we do. And they weren't happy with me. So when it came time for Jim Bedolis to come back, Dr. Fager called me in his office and he said, okay, I'm going to give you an opportunity here to step down because I recognize this has been a really difficult thing for you to do. It's not been easy for you to be the team leader. They're giving you a hard time. I recognize that. So we're going to make a change here. And I said, please don't. And he said, what? I said, I really want to continue. I really need to learn to do this. I really need to work through this. Please don't take the position away from me. Let me work at it a little bit more. And he said, basically, okay.
Nice.
It was important for me not to give up, number one. And it was nice that he believed enough in me to let me continue. And it worked out really well, and things got a whole lot better and we were pretty effective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did
Okay.
Did Bedolis get a leadership position back or like another team or?
No, I was now
Nice.
the leader. So, yeah. And I think it was uncomfortable for him, but it worked out.
Yeah. I don't get what the big deal about stuff like that is. I don't get what the big deal about stuff like that is. We had similar things in the Secret Service. If we're all agents and you're the site agent at a particular visit, we're all working for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not our boss, but it's your security plan. And we need to help implement that. You're going to give us direction on what to do, what not to do, and so on and so forth. And we're not going to make your life hell because next week you're going to be a poststander at my site. And you're going to have the opportunity to paybacks. And so we just love.
And we'll continue with my list next
Yeah.
week.
It's like just turned like
because our hour is over.
I just heard the ding. I don't know which something we lost. Well, that would be 99.1. It's on this system over here. So we lost Atlanta, and there it is. Okay, and I was just listening to let's see, which is WZQR in Pineland, Florida. We're on both hours there. I just learned that today, so they keep us on.
Very good.
I know we lost Vegas an hour ago, but that was sounding good today too. So yeah, we'll have most of those back tomorrow. I got the nasty gram from Atlanta. I got to pay my next membership for they're actually the cheapest ones, so I got to kind of keep them on the list. But anyway, yeah, that's it for today. We'll go with next week.
All right. Gotta go. Gotta run. Got stuff to do. Take care.
Right. I'm Yergs.
Bye-bye. And I'm Jane Stahl. And this is, I don't know, both sides.
Oh, still is. Absolutely.
Is it? Okay. Wasn't sure.
All right. Yep. See you next week.
See you next week.
All right, everybody. So, we got some other news that came in during our rambling session, which was, like I said, therapeutic, and it is definitely, I'm actually feeling better. But anyway, Ken's checking in. I saw the new the new Facebook photo. Looks good. I don't know what the hell this is all about. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is now acting director of USAID. This is, I said earlier in the first hour, this is a hostile takeover of the U.S. government by the U.S. government. So I don't know if you can actually call it a coup. I think that part's over, because I think that's what Elon Musk has already illustrated or orchestrated. Excuse me. I think that's what he's already orchestrated. I said it before with Trump, and I'll say it again now with Trump and Musk. I don't get the appeal with what they are doing in the government, cutting these people out of jobs without due process, doing so against the policies that are supposed to be protecting these independent employees of the government from partisan decisions like this. It's one thing if you want to downsize the government, fine. Everybody's been saying that for generations, that they're going to do that. For decades, if not generations, that they're going to do that. But there is still a legal process. There's nothing in now less than 4 years, thank God. When your ass is replaced, there's nothing stopping anybody from coming in and changing it all back. And now these people are likely going to get back pay because you're not doing this legally. I can answer the question about Marco Rubio because we actually talked about it a little bit in the first hour. Foreign Affairs is headed by three major branches of the government. One is the Department of Defense, any force used to conduct those foreign affairs through the military. The other is the Department of State, Marco Rubio, and that would be diplomacy. And the third is USAID, USAID. And that is through essentially philanthropy and physical support. This is where they might work with aspects of like the Army Corps of Engineers for like construction, educational things, medical things, so on and so forth. So apparently the State Department is the closest branch to USAID. And so Rubio, until it's dismantled, is now the acting director of that. Because of the similarities, I would have to say that this is something he's done that actually makes sense. I'm not saying that it's right. Removing it it just shows, it just proves that Trump doesn't get it. And we talked about in the first hour how Musk is a Nazi. Trump is a fascist. And I think, the potential, but this isn't me arguing against Blake Fisher, who says that, everybody on the left calls everybody on the right a Nazi. No, I don't. I'm not saying that about Marco Rubio. I'm not saying about that about Brian Driscoll, who is a very conservative leader at the FBI. I'm saying about the people who rule instead of govern. Huge difference there. Who rule instead of govern, who bypass and ignore due process, who bypass and ignore the law, who bypass and ignore things that, remember when we were making America great? It's because we had these things that made us great. And now somebody who we were warned about as a wannabe dictator now gives that impression as what's nothing more than a puppet. Because if you seriously think that the interview that Musk did with Trump on Twitter, where everybody was saying they could tell that even though it was audio only, they could tell he was sitting there rolling his eyes at the things Trump was saying. You can't tell me that with these so-called smarts figured out how to dominate Donald Trump. I think that's obvious. Who won the fight over the H-1B visas? Elon Musk. Who won the fight over drastically and illegally downsizing the government in the same fashion in which Musk did it to Twitter right before Twitter essentially shit the bed and became half of the popular platform that it used to be? So, yeah, that's my take on it, Travis. That's why I suspect Rubio was put into that place as acting director while also already Secretary of State, is that the two, when they're allowed to, very productively work hand in hand together to, as I said, enact American foreign affairs around the world. So, yeah. Usually by now, or not yet, but eventually, we will starting to be ending right at the 1 o'clock hour, because we'll soon be followed on Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio by Sportcats. I got to get this right. Sportcats Gloomy Gazette. Glenn Sportcat Jackson from the Para or Normal guys every Wednesday night at 9, and the Misfits, Sportcat and the Misfits, Saturdays at 9, which he's taken off. He's not doing that show anymore. He's now doing an hour-long news show in the afternoon, starting at 1 Eastern, immediately after Up the Middle. He's currently, we'll call it, on assignment in Knoxville, taking care of family. So when he gets back to Atlanta, he'll be picking up that show. Right now he's able to do the Para or Normal guys remotely. He wants to do the news show in Atlanta. So when he gets back, you can look for that at 1 o'clock Eastern. Let's see, 10 Pacific. Check out Travis, The Point with Travis Evans tomorrow, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, on his Facebook page. Hopefully by then, I wanted to do it last week and time got away from me, unfortunately. But hopefully by then we'll have him on Yerg's Radio at that same time, 8 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, Tuesday evenings. Just think about, 4 black guys sitting in a bar or a barbershop, talking smack on each other, talking events of the day, being entertaining, being intelligent. They bring out really good points. And I'm really excited to, as soon as I can, bring them to Yerg's Radio. All right, that's it, gang. I'm going to go drink a whole bottle of cough medicine, something I should have done 2 hours ago, and make some lunch. I got some more training to do today. Kind of excited about that. About 45 minutes from now, I'm going to learn more about our new system that we're going to be able to bring you a better quality product on Yerg's Radio. All right, gang. Thanks for getting off the porch, trying to run with this old big dog that's got a head cold, and going straight up the middle. Thanks again, and we'll see you tomorrow.